I'm going to trace out this violin profile and cut it out of black acrylic. Shown here, I'm using a full-size diagram. First thing we'll do here in Logic Trace is we'll select the 4 points to define my work area. And as you can see here, I'm touching the outer 4 corners of the diagram. The first Logic Trace command I'm going to use is the curve fit. I'll be using the curve fit command for quite a bit of this violin tracing. Started tracing at the top part of the violin profile. The outer perimeter is one complete trace, so you don't stop until you get right back to where I started from. It's easy because you've got those buttons to select the different commands, so you can just switch from one command to another before you completed that full trace. I'm not showing here, but I save my work frequently. Also at the left side of that violin, you can see where I selected the trace command. I find if there's ever any question which command to use, which button to select for tracing, you can't go wrong by just selecting the trace command. Just got to keep your hand steady. I'm showing here that I'm saving my work. Now I'm going to start tracing out some of the internal components of the violin. I'm going to start off with that chin rest. Again, I'll be using the curve fit command. I always mention that I use a red pencil to mark off where I start tracing. Also helps to keep track of what has been traced. Any of those parts that I do see that are straight lines, I'll select the line command. Using the trace command to trace out those keynotes. This is not the first violin I've traced out. I've done a few. I seem to like tracing out musical instruments, violins and guitars. Shown here, I'll be tracing out the violin strings. I'll just be using the line command for all the strings. Which makes for very fast tracing because you're just using that one command for all the lines. It's surprising just how little time it takes to trace out a diagram of this detail. I always get my diagrams printed out large, even sometimes bigger than the actual object that I'm making, because of the tracing. It makes it a lot easier to trace something out that's quite big. I did a bit of a close-up here to show the neck, to show how those lines are being traced out. This is going to end up being a really interesting project because I'm going to use 1/4-inch black acrylic. I'm going to cut everything out. It's just going to be a profile. Again, it's just a matter of selecting the various commands, the various buttons, and tracing it out. Also, again, I save my work frequently. I keep harping on that because it's just great to be able to go back to a saved copy in case something goes wrong. Using Logic Trace to trace out this diagram makes this job very easy, very simple, and quick. Getting finished up here with the tracing, so I'll save that final DXF file. Next step here is to take that saved file, that DXF file, and load it into Vectric Aspire. Here I'll check the vector quality and run it through the simulator. What I'm doing here is I'm running that file using a piece of cardboard and the CO2 laser. I want to make sure the cut looks good and everything's proper because acrylic is expensive. It doesn't cost anything to use a piece of cardboard and it looks good. Shown here, I've started to cut the black acrylic. I'm using a very low air pressure. Because of the glare, I'm going to switch to a different shot. There, you can see the cut there. It's going very smooth. Very smooth cutting and very clean. Those parts are going to pop out just great. Once finished, I'll start removing the parts and have a look at that cut. You can see here the finished product. It looks good. It's a violin profile with black acrylic.